Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the Zion crane, which you saw in the previous video, and my old stabilizer, which was the Glidecam HD 2000. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a unique video because this time I have my girlfriend operating the stabilizers, and she doesn't really have a ton of experience using stabilizers at all, so it'll be kind of cool to see how somebody who's brand new at these two different types of stabilizers will be able to utilize them right off the bat. So before we get into that, I do want to say, if you can, subscribe if you like the video, because it really helps. As you know, YouTube changed their monetization program, so until I get to 1,000 subscribers, I won't be monetized. And the cool thing about being monetized is just by you watching these videos, I'm able to actually get equipment like this, like the stabilizer, all YouTube advertisement money. So it's kind of cool to be able to put together these videos just because you guys are watching. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so first I'm gonna go over some of the boring details. So if you don't want any of the technical information about these two different stabilizers, just go to this point in the video, and that will be the point where she's going to be operating both of the different cameras, and then you can also see somebody who has a little bit more experience using stabilizers like me, how these two will compare. And I think it'll be kind of a cool comparison for somebody who's new at both of them and somebody who has, you know, a little bit more experience. So first, we're going to be talking about the Glidecam. Now, the Glidecam, if you don't already know, is a fully manual stabilizer. So it doesn't have any motors in it. All it is basically bearings and some metal piping and a mount at the top. So very low tech, but it's kind of cool because it's been used for, or at least its basic design has been used for the last 40 years in video production, getting nice smooth shots. And it works really well, but with that, it actually takes a lot of experience, a lot of practice, a lot of failing at some of the video stabilizing with it before you can actually get good at it. Even when you're good at it, it's still not an exactly perfect item. So another cool thing about the Glidecam is that it has a weight limit up to 6 pounds. So you can basically have something as light as the A6300 with a kit lens, which is super light. It's only about a pound. So you can have something that's that light sitting on top of it and stabilize it. And you can have something that's up to 6 pounds stabilized. So that's something that's maybe closer to a pro level type camera. So everything from entry level to pro level will work with this stabilizer. And to top it off, it has no batteries. It's all you, so you don't have to worry about charging batteries, and it's just one less hassle to worry about. However, the downside, like I said, it takes a lot of experience, a lot of practicing, a lot of failing with it before you can actually use it effectively. And I've actually used it quite a bit. I've used it on some music videos, I've used it at weddings, and I will tell you, it absolutely kills your arm. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that hard to maybe carry, maybe a 2-pound camera with a 2-pound stabilizer, but when you're having to hold it, not just hold it up, but hold it as steady as possible, that takes a lot of muscle strength to be able to do that. And, then to top it off, you have to think about doing the minute adjustments with your other hand, and it absolutely kills you. So that's one kind of huge downside for this stabilizer. Now, with the Zion crane, or however you pronounce it, I pronounce it Zion, it is very easy to use right off the bat. It has a very, short learning curve. Is that the word? Short learning curve?
Yeah.
So it's easy to use right off the bat. It's easy to balance. It's easy to operate in all of the different modes. But like I said, it is an electronic piece of equipment. So one thing I did notice from the first few times I've used it is, number one, clearly it's battery powered, so you need to make sure you have the batteries charged, but they do last for 12 hours. So, as long as you charge it at the beginning of the day, you should be fine. Second, because it's an electronic piece of equipment, you're kind of at the mercy of the computer. I did notice yesterday when I was out filming, doing some more technical movements, you know, doing like sweeping the camera down and to the side at the same time. I don't know, the computer was kind of freaking out a few times. I don't really know why, but that's something that you wouldn't have happen to you with the Glidecam, because with the Glidecam, it's all you, so if you mess it up, that's you messing it up, versus the Zion Crane, where sometimes you have a little bit of extra computer input that you aren't necessarily asking for. But one of the other cool things about the Zion Crane is that there's actually a few shots that you can do with the crane that are basically impossible or just not meant for the Glidecam. And one of these shots that I thought was really cool is actually being able to flip the crane upside down so the camera is at the bottom and sort of gliding really low across the ground. That wouldn't really be possible on the Glidecam. Now, maybe there's some way that you can kind of balance it to make it balance upside down or something, but it's just not really meant to function like that. And so that was really cool. And there were also some situations where I'm walking with it in one of the obstacle course videos that you can actually turn it upside down, and it works a little bit more effectively when you're just using it in regular situations. And then so another cool thing is just the different modes, because you know you can lock into place. Those are some things that you can't do with the Glidecam, because Glidecam's, you know, just bearings. It's not going to lock into place. So locking into a certain direction is really cool, really useful for a lot of different shots. So one more cool thing about the Zion Crane versus the Glidecam is that because you have a single hand operating the left, right, up, down, and you know, all the joystick actions on the back, you don't have to have it gripped with one hand right here and operating it with the other hand to turn it. It's all done with one hand. So what you can do is grab the gimbal with both hands, so you can share that, you know, 5 pounds or whatever with just both of your hands rather than only one. So it's easier to use over an extended period of time, versus the Glidecam. If you're using it for 5 minutes, your arm is absolutely destroyed, it's shaking, it's tired, it's very, very difficult. So 2 hands versus 1 hand is much, much better, and that's something that I'll probably be experiencing more over time as I kind of have more video shoots using this Glidecam. Okay, so here is the cool part of the video. This is the part where I have my girlfriend, Michelle, use both the Glidecam and the Zion Crane out at the Ramona Grasslands Nature Preserve. It's just a place nearby. So as you'll see, we have 3 different shots that we're trying to achieve with both of these stabilizers. First, she used the Glidecam, which is the manual stabilizer, and then she used the Zion afterwards. And the reason I decided to make this was so you can see somebody who's brand new at using stabilizers, how each one of them will sort of work and how short the learning curve is for each one of these. Now, she did it first, then I did it, so you can get an idea of somebody who has been using the Glidecam for quite a while, how each one of these stabilizers will be for somebody who's a little bit more experienced. So let's check that out, and then we will kind of react and get her ideas on both of these stabilizers. Okay, so here's the first shot, and this is a following shot from behind going around a corner, so there's a few moving parts in this shot which makes it a little bit difficult. So here is the first one by her using the Glidecam. Okay, so then with shot 2, this is the obstacle course. So you'll also see, I'll put it up right now, the third person perspective of what's going on while we're shooting this. So this first shot is her using the Glidecam walking over the log.
That was really bad.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like the camera's flailing around. You know, and not to put her down because it's a very difficult shot. That's a very difficult shot and a very difficult piece of equipment to operate while doing that. So here is the shot with the Zion crane going through the same steps. I think that looks pretty good. That's definitely a passable shot for somebody walking over like a 2-foot tall log. So the third and final shot is she's walking backwards while following me walking forward. So this is difficult because you don't know where you're going and you have to kind of multitask, figuring out where you're walking and looking at the camera while pointing it in the correct direction. So let's check out the first shot from her using the Glidecam. So it's a little bit shaky, but it's probably actually one of the smoother shots at the beginning for sure, but still pretty shaky. So let's check out the Zion crane version of this shot. So it's a little bit of headroom there, but that's fine. You can still get an idea of how smooth the shot looks. Very, very smooth. Looks really, really nice, especially using it for the first time. Okay, so then we'll check out my shots. So first shot following her with the Glidecam. Overall, both of those shots looked fairly similar. Both of them had, like, in my opinion, a little bit of a little mishit there. The Glidecam went a little bit off axis like that, and then you could see what I was talking about earlier with the motors kind of, you know, you being at the mercy of the computers. It kind of had a little twitch right there, but not a huge problem. You can do a second take in 5 seconds and you'd be totally cool. So let's go on to the second shot, going over the log. Now this is one of the times that I actually turned the Zion crane upside down and held it with the camera at the bottom. Now I did this because I don't remember why, but I think the first time I went through with the camera standing upright, I noticed some issues with just the motor acting funny, so I turned it upside down and it acted a little bit better for me. So let's check out the Glidecam first to kind of see the baseline test. And I would say that's a very passable shot. I think that looks pretty good. And there'd be a lot of applications for that, you know, maybe following some animal around a corner or over something. Be really, really cool shot, and people might wonder how you got such a smooth shot. And then the third and final shot for me is following her with the Glidecam first, going backwards through the same little field. So let's check it out. Okay, so I would say those were equally as smooth. So let's get Michelle's thoughts on both of these stabilizers. I guess first, the Glidecam. What did you think about the Glidecam?
So the Glidecam, I think the major thing for me was, especially when you're going to be moving a lot, balancing the camera with this, but also not trying to grip it too hard so that you're not making any like jerking motion was really difficult, especially if you're like trying to do that and pay attention to where you're going.
Yeah.
Versus the second one, where I felt like all the stabilization was taken care of, and you just had to worry about, you know, like holding it with your arm and guiding.
Now, which shot was the easiest shot for you using the Glidecam?
Probably walking backwards.
Walking backwards? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it looked like that was probably like your smoothest shot that you had there. Mm-hmm. Now, when you're using the crane, did it seem easier, like in terms of like weight, because you didn't really have to be like as precise with it, or was it too short of a period of time to be able to notice that?
I think it was a little bit too short of a period of time, but I mean, you know, just the fact that like you can use both hands to hold it, you know, that's a huge factor.
Yeah. Now, the reason I really wanted to get this was so she could use this when we go on our trips, get some cool like stabilized shots, because previously we'd just been like hand holding the cameras, or, you know, doing like the cheapy little like neck strap stabilizing, and the Glidecam isn't exactly the most compact thing in the world. You can't really, I mean, you can put it in like a Pelican case or something. I don't have a case for it because I bought it used from some guy. So it's kind of difficult to bring around, and just a little bit like unwieldy. And not to mention, she wouldn't really be able to use it very effectively unless she practiced for months with it.
Yeah, I think practicing, I felt like had I spent a lot of time and invested in it, then I feel like you could use it more effectively. But right off the bat, the other one is way easier to use.
yeah, definitely. And so like, yeah, now that we have that, we can use it for, you know, any trips that we go on, or just even just shooting around, and she can get some awesome shots with it. So I think that is a really good illustration of what you can expect when you get one of these, because they're a pretty equivalent price. I bought my Zion crane on sale. I think it was like $3.99. So that was a killer price, because that's actually less than the Glidecam cost, believe it or not. The Glidecam is just metal poles and bearings, and it costs like $500. And I bought the electronic Zion crane with, you know, it comes with an app and, you know, all this cool stuff, and that was $400. So I would say if you end up seeing this on sale, or even if you just think it'd be useful for you, definitely go and buy it, because it's a huge piece of equipment that will really bring your stuff up to the next level. Now, with that being said, if you already have a Glidecam, don't get rid of it, because you can still get awesome shots with it. Like, I mean, I'll still probably use it, because there's some things that the Glidecam can do that the Zion crane can't do. Like, it has a better upper capacity. So if some of you guys have those heavier cameras, the crane isn't going to do much for you. Now, there are gimbals you can get that have the higher weight capacity, but those end up, you know, going off into the stratosphere in terms of price. Now, another thing that it can do that the Zion crane can't do is I can't use my Canon lens attached to my Sony body, and the reason being is that it's so front heavy that I can't balance the crane effectively to actually use it. So I can only use my kit lens on the crane, which is kind of a big bummer, unless I find out some way to be able to use, you know, to balance it better. But for right now, all I can use is the kit lens. So while the crane seems like it's this awesome thing, it does have like its little downfalls, because I'm a little bit limited at the time as to which lenses I can use on my Sony bodies. Now, on the flip side, there are definitely things that the Zion can do that the Glidecam can't. And, you know, I mentioned those a little bit before, like hanging it upside down, getting some cool shots, locking it into place, or even just sticking it straight up in the air, maybe getting a cool like little twirling shot. You can't get that with the Glidecam. So I think that sort of wraps it all up. If you guys have any questions, leave me a comment down in the comment section below, and I can answer any questions, because by the time I answer them, I will have a lot more experience using this crane. So if you can subscribe, it would really help. I want to try to hit 1,000 subscribers so I can monetize my videos once again. And I do want to thank my girlfriend Michelle for being a good sport and you know, trying to use both of these stabilizers, because I think it'll be a valuable lesson for you people out there. So I do want to thank you guys for watching the entire video, and I will see you on the next one.